Sometimes it's not the crime that gets attention, it's the way police respond when there isn't one. In today's video, we will walk through 3 real encounters where officers overstepped their authority and paid the price. From citizens wrongfully stopped and harassed, to an elderly man returning from a medical appointment, accused, arrested, and charged without cause, to a heartbreaking final story where a retired war hero suffering from Alzheimer's was brutalized by a reckless officer and left in a coma. These stories don't just show bad policing, they expose a deeper problem: the cost of unchecked power. It started like so many stops do, with a tale. These 2 men were just leaving a shopping mall when they noticed the patrol car behind them. Then came the stop, the demand, and a moment where standing your ground meant everything. They weren't speeding, they weren't swerving, they weren't doing anything wrong. Just 2 men leaving a mall, followed by a cop with nothing better to do than fish for compliance. A vehicle tailing them slowly through the lot, not marked, not patrolling. The man behind the wheel, an off-duty officer with a badge and a bad attitude. He pulled up, jumped out of his car, and immediately demanded ID. No explanation, no report of a crime, just pure, unchecked aggression. His tone was sharp, loud, confrontational, and clearly not about safety.
You haven't have a reason, sir. You didn't pull me over. But you didn't pull me over.
Get the license out, or I'll hit for a backup, and I'll take you out of the car. Get your driver's license out.
Call your supervisor, sir.
Get your driver's license out right now.
This wasn't a routine encounter. It was racial profiling in plain sight. The kind of stop that makes you ask, would this have happened if they didn't look the way they did?
Call your supervisor.
Please call your supervisor. Because you're not pulling me over neither.
You get your driver's license out right now. Show me ID.
Call your supervisor.
What do you need my ID for, sir?
Well, because you want to run your mouth to me.
No, because you was looking at my license plate. For what?
Exactly.
For what?
But these gentlemen, they stayed calm. They knew the law, and they knew they didn't have to show ID, not without reasonable suspicion, not without a crime, so they refused, respectfully, calmly, and that's when the real pressure started.
You don't have the right to run this.
I got my rights to do anything I want to do. I'm a police officer.
You can't run
that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything.
I'll pull you over and I'll tow your car.
You can't tow my car.
You're
not pulling me over. You're not pulling me over.
Get your driver's license.
The officer began raising his voice, agitated that these men weren't intimidated by his badge. He tried to spin the story, claim they were suspicious. But suspicious of what? Buying something? Leaving a store? For existing? But that didn't stop the officer from escalating, stalling them on the side of the road, radioing for backup, and pushing beyond the limits of what the law allows.
Number, sir.
Right there it is.
What's your name?
Can you read it to me?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Read your badge number and your name.
Get your driver's license.
Read your badge. I'm asking you. You can't lock me up. You can't lock me up.
Control Tom 3315.
We're asking you to call a supervisor, sir.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we're not getting a supervisor.
We're not getting a supervisor?
As the scene dragged on, more officers showed up. Uniforms, radios, backup. The off-duty officer had escalated what should have been a non-event into a full-on roadside standoff, all because he couldn't handle 2 men knowing their rights.
We requested a supervisor.
I don't mind showing you my driver's license, but what is your reason that you're asking?
Because.
Why?
Because you're acting suspicious.
About what?
License. That's all I want to see.
You're not explaining to me. You didn't pull me over. You jumped out your car and asked me did I want to.
Investigation.
What are you investigating? You just see me in there shopping. I paid. I paid for everything that I bought.
Get your license and you can go.
We asked for a supervisor. You denied us that.
I'm not going to get a supervisor.
I'm asking for your name.
Off-duty employment.
You're off duty?
Exactly.
At this point, you might be asking, can an off-duty cop even make a stop like this? It's a fair question, because what happened wasn't a patrol, that wasn't a traffic stop, that wasn't de-escalation. That was a man with a badge, off-duty, using his authority to intimidate 2 citizens. So let's break it down. Off-duty officers do keep their police powers in many states, but there are limits. They're not authorized to go out looking for suspicious people. They're not supposed to initiate stops in personal vehicles unless there's a clear, serious threat. And when there's no crime, demanding ID, raising your voice, trying to detain people, all of that step into unlawful detainment territory. In other words, this wasn't just bad judgment. It was a power trip, and that's exactly why he was fired.
Off-duty employment.
If you're off duty, then why are you stopping people?
And I'm stopping you because you're suspicious.
Why are
About
we
what?
suspicious?
Well, what'd you come back around for?
Because I want to know
No, you jumped out of the car on us because we
Exactly.
looked at you.
Because I don't know what you guys are doing. Now show me your
You don't know
driver's
what we're
license.
doing? You just seen
Show
us
me your
shopping.
driver's license.
You don't look. You see all these bags in the back of the car? We just came out of the store seeing you, so you
Show
know
me
what
your
we're doing.
driver's license.
Eventually, a supervisor arrived, and it was obvious they had nothing. No stolen goods, no law broken.
What infraction did he commit?
Nothing at all, officer.
It's suspicious behavior. I'm wanting an ID.
Okay. What was suspicious about it?
Because he was calling me out in my car.
What did I call you, sir? I didn't call you anything.
Hang tight for me for just 1 second.
Yes, sir.
No crime committed. After nearly 20 minutes of harassment and ego, the men were let go. No ticket, no citation, no apology.
Yeah, as far as I know, based upon what happened, I don't think either of us have any reasonable suspicion to believe
Right.
that there's a crime taking place.
Right.
It says there's no reason for a traffic stop at this point.
Right.
So there's no legal requirement for you to identify yourself to an officer at that
Right,
point. So
right.
if you don't want to give him ID, then you don't have to give him ID at that point.
And we tried to
But the story didn't end there. Footage of the encounter went viral, and when the public saw what really happened, when they heard the tone in the officer's voice and saw the lack of cause, the outrage was immediate. Within weeks, the off-duty cop was fired. A rare moment of accountability in a system that usually looks the other way. In the end, this wasn't just a stop, it was a reminder that rights only matter if you're brave enough to use them, and that sometimes knowing the law can protect your life. Sometimes it's not about matching a description. It's about being the wrong color, at the wrong time, in the wrong place. If you are thinking the first story is bad enough, wait till you watch what tyrant cops did to this man in the next story. Mr. Tyron Pfeiffer, a 63-year-old grandfather recovering from surgery, learned that the hard way, when a simple trip home turned into a nightmare. Mr. Tyrone Pfeiffer had just finished a post-surgery medical appointment. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was simply walking home, sore, tired, and ready to rest. But then came the flashing lights. Officers from the Nassau County Police Department in New York stopped him at the roadside. Why? They claimed he matched the description of a suspect they were looking for. No details, no probable cause, just a vague excuse, and a whole lot of attitudes. Mr. Pfeiffer cooperated. He provided his ID when asked, and after a few minutes of radio checks and side conversations, the officers realized something critical. They had the wrong man. Mr. Pfeiffer wasn't their suspect.
44 seconds into this video, that sergeant who had the body cam should have said, "We have the wrong person. Take your hands off of him." Instead, they treated him like a piece of meat.
Give me my stuff. Look at my ID. Look at my prescription. Look at my prescription. You on my hip.
Listen to me. I'm gonna get off you right now. I need to talk to you. Okay?
You have the wrong person.
I understand that.
He wasn't a threat, but instead of apologizing, instead of admitting their mistake, they doubled down. They charged Mr. Pfeiffer with obstruction of governmental administration, a charge so vague it's often used when officers want to save face or punish someone who dared to challenge their authority. Remember, this wasn't a young man sprinting from the scene. This was a 63-year-old grandfather recovering from surgery, trying to make it home. And yet, the system treated him like a criminal for daring to ask, "Why me?"
Affecting me so awful, so bad.
What happened to Mr. Pfeiffer isn't just an isolated mistake. It's a reflection of a culture where admitting error is seen as weakness and abusing power is seen as protecting order. In reality, it's neither. It's injustice. And it leaves scars long after the handcuffs come off.
That morning was the worst day of my life.
Mr. Tyrone Pfeiffer wasn't looking for trouble. He was 63 years old, a grandfather. just coming home from a post-surgery medical appointment. But to the Nassau County Police Department, he wasn't Mr. Pfeiffer that day. He was a suspect, someone who matched a description. The officers claimed he fit the description of someone named Leroy, and within 1 minute, body camera footage would later reveal, the officers realized they had the wrong man. But instead of correcting their mistake, instead of apologizing and letting Mr. Pfeiffer continue home, they doubled down. They grabbed him, they arrested him, they charged him with obstruction of governmental administration, a vague accusation often thrown at people who dare to question unlawful police actions. 10 months later, the charge was quietly dismissed, but the damage was already done. Mr. Pfeiffer didn't stay silent. Therefore, in September 2024, he filed a $30 million 0-cents federal lawsuit against Nassau County, the police department, and the officers involved. Sergeant Daniel Amondi, Officer Richard Fossa-Beck, Officer Quinn Knauer, and Officer Patrick McGrath. Even the police commissioner Patrick Ryder himself is named in the lawsuit. Mr. Pfeiffer's case isn't just about personal injustice. His lawyer, Frederick Brewington, argues it's part of a larger pattern, a policing culture where black individuals are targeted, mistreated, and charged disproportionately compared to white individuals. And here's the part that stings even more. To this day, there's no record of disciplinary action against the officers. No suspension, no firing, no public accountability. The Nassau County Police Department refused to comment on the incident, citing ongoing litigation. In other words, business as usual. For Mr. Pfeiffer, what should have been a quiet afternoon after surgery became a nightmare of racial profiling, abuse of authority, and a system designed to protect itself, not the people it serves.
That morning was the worst day of my life.
By the time this story ends, you'll be asking, how does something like this even happen? A retired war veteran, confused, lost, and suffering from Alzheimer's, became the target of reckless policing. What should have been a welfare check ended with him in a coma. He was somebody's father, somebody's grandfather, and once upon a time, he was somebody's hero. George Henderson, 61-year-old retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant, disciplined and now aging with Alzheimer's. On the day this happened in Guthrie, Kentucky, on December 6, 2024, his family had reported him missing. He had wandered from home, confused, disoriented, like so many do with memory loss. He didn't pose a threat. He didn't even know where he was. That's when a call came in to local police, possible disturbance at a neighborhood store. An officer arrived on the scene, Officer Pritchett of the Guthrie Police Department.
How's it going, brother? How you doing? Good. Got a call about you assaulting somebody? What happened with that?
I work with these guys.
Yeah. Was it him you pushed? Who did you push?
Who did I push? I pushed the miller from back.
But instead of assessing, instead of asking, instead of observing, he assumed.
I don't know what you're looking for me. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't trying to steal nothing.
Okay. You good? You got any guns or knives on you or anything?
Damn.
Just take your hand out of your pocket for me.
No, I don't have no guns.
Take your hands out of your pocket for
Let
me.
me get you the gun. I don't have no guns.
Okay, turn around for me.
All right.
Turn. Give me your hands.
He didn't check for ID. He didn't call for a medical response. He didn't ask himself, could this man be confused? Could this be a medical crisis?
Person so you can talk through.
I got you. Okay.
I ain't trying to do anything.
I understand.
You know, you can call
Do
somebody.
you take any kind of medication or something? No, your pupils are very, very, very tiny.
He looked at an older black man who couldn't respond clearly, and he jumped to a conclusion, intoxicated.
Pinpointed. Can you look up in the air for me?
I don't drink. I don't drug.
Go ahead and turn around and put your hands behind your back for me. You got cocaine in your nose.
Man, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Instead, he escalated a simple arrest. Force was used. The officer punched Mr. Henderson at the back of his head. That force caused trauma, and Mr. Henderson passed out for a few minutes. As if that wasn't enough, instead of calling the ambulance immediately, the officer still proceeded to cuff the incapacitated man as he laid helplessly on the floor. Eventually, he transported Mr. Henderson to the precinct and booked him for the night on multiple charges, including attempted theft, resisting arrest, assault of a police officer, public intoxication, and possession of a controlled substance. And within hours of isolation at the precinct, that man, that veteran, was lying in a hospital bed, in a coma. Later they'd find out who he really was, a missing person, a war hero, a man with Alzheimer's, a man whose only crime was being vulnerable in front of the wrong officer. And that's the most devastating part of this entire video. This wasn't a situation that spiraled out of control. It was a situation where control was never needed in the first place. It only spiraled because a cop made it about power, not people. What do you call that? Mistake? Negligence? Or is it something darker? Something we're afraid to name? Either way, he never should have ended up in that coma. And we never should have had to tell this story. In the end, the charges against Mr. Henderson were eventually dropped due to insubstantial evidence. Still, the cop that made the arrest, Officer Pritchett, still walks free with no accountability for his action. The incident has sparked discussions about police training, especially in handling individuals with cognitive impairments, and has led to calls for accountability and reform. This case underscores the critical need for law enforcement agencies to have appropriate training and protocols when interacting with individuals experiencing mental health crises, particularly veterans who may have unique needs stemming from their service. 3 stories, different faces, different places, but the pattern is the same. Power unchecked, rights ignored, lives disrupted, and in every case, no accountability. These aren't just bad apples. This is what happens when the system protects itself instead of the people. Stay alert, know your rights, and most of all, keep watching. And don't forget to subscribe and set alert to stay informed on our weekly episodes on corrupt cops and true crime series. See you next week.